Welcome to my pottery video. Today, we're going to take things down the tranquil route of the terror of pottery. Pottery itself is quite an unforgivable thing. It's a very honest material. As you work with it doesn't lie to you. There is no gaslighting. It is quite literally the most vile material on earth, in my opinion. It's everywhere, and it's constantly working against you, right? As soon as it hits the wheel, it's starting to either get wet to dissolve or dry, so you can't work with it anymore. And so there's a limited time that you can work with the material on the wheel. And I think that's how it should be. I think once people start tampering with the natural drying and wetness of clay by wrapping it up over long periods of time, it loses the magic of the ceramics and the process itself. Look at that, guys. We don't want to lose that magic of ceramics. Look at that. A little bit off center. You can see here. No, you can't really see. Well, maybe you can if I'm looking directly at it. Pushing my fingers in. Yeah, you can. Just gotta make sure. Pushing my fingers in the clay. Opening it up, you can see it's not centered at all. But that's okay. Centering doesn't happen just through the beginning stages of the ceramic process. It also happens during the throwing parts. Here I am taking my finger, letting it spin, creating that nice pattern on the inside. I'm allowing my thumb to go up towards my palm here. And then my left hand is gradually taking that in. And there we go. We have a volcano, ladies and gentlemen. There's our volcano. And once we have the volcano, we're at a really good spot to reach down over here on the side. And you can see I'm going to be pushing that in. And then I'll get a little nodule. And ceramics is all about taking that little nodule all the way up the side of the pot. And what a pull that was. What a pull that was indeed. There we go. I will need to be wrapping this blue wire around my head because right now it's in the frame and it's kind of driving me insane. So now it is out of the frame. We're going to the bottom of the pot here. Actually, maybe towards the middle. We see a slight undulation on the inside there. And so I'm slowly wrapping my two fingers around that top edge, compressing it, keeping it in. You want to have a strong top, right? If you go too thin, it becomes so hard to manage. Or if you leave some thickness there, you're actually in a pretty good spot. Pushing this clay down to go up. Right? Just like cars, you gotta go left to go right. Ceramics, you gotta go down to go up. There we go. Look at that, guys. Love that, love that. There we go. Opening that clay up there. We probably have one or two more pulls here with this clay. Very, very hard undulation on that bottom, so I kind of screwed that up. But that's okay. We're taking our fingers. We're going to go down the side of the wall here, making sure it's all lubricated. And then we're going to go to the bottom. Also, my arm is getting a little bit caught on that clay. I'm going up underneath. Right. I'm slowly taking the clay up. And there's our cylinders. Look at that, guys. Love to see that. I think here, we're going to slowly take our arm, and we don't want to get too much clay on my kurta. So I'm pushing down along the side here, slowly taking this bottom part, this bottom edge out, so we have a definitive little chunk that we'll be working with a little bit later. We're going to take as much water as we can out of the interior of the pot here. We have a good height on this pot as well. And so here we are. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to leave that 6th one a little bit larger. 2, 3, 4, 5. We gotta make sure we get that tucked in. There we go. We can see that edge here. We're slowly taking that in. We're gonna go on the interior here and open this up slowly, and you can see how it slowly wants to go wide. We're going to carry and follow that curve as it's going down, just so we can stretch that just a little bit more. And with that little extra oomph, it changes the pot so much. Here we go on the bottom of the pot, slowly but surely taking out some of the clay on the bottom here to lift up this bottom edge. I call it the skirt of the pot. And so there's a lot of things that we can do with this. Most people would cut this off, but I think there's hidden potential in all the parts of ceramics. You just have to unlock it. We're also wary that our clay is a little bit twisted. You can see that lean over to the side here, and we're just going to keep an eye on that as we're spinning, because there's a chance that it will exaggerate as we spin. So we got to make sure we're spinning slow enough to not disturb the form. I can see it keep on tilting more and more and more and more and more, and it's going to get ready to fall here in a little bit. And so before that happens, we're going to take our fingers and we're going to slowly move that on center, twist, and then push down, give it a little shake, and now we're back. Right? Don't be afraid to touch the clay. It's not going to bite you. It will make you really sad though. So if you are emotionally unstable, clay might not be for you. I think anybody who says that clay is a very peaceful thing, they're totally lying, or they're doing it in a way where they're preventing their full capacity, right? I think if you think clay and ceramics is very easy, you're not testing yourself and you're not trying to improve. Where I think if you think clay is a struggle, you're in the perfect spot. And keep that struggle up, because you'll only get better. Look at that, guys. Really a fan of this one. I think we're just going to take these little edges and just drag my fingers across them to clean up just a little bit. We don't want to clean them up too much. But just tapering that little curve there. There we go. I think I like the way that looks. I'm not going to push it there. I'm going to go up underneath the pot here, drag my tool underneath, taking that out. Great. Pushing that over to the side. Wonderful. This is the first pot. It's number 1, guys. Thank you so much. Off to number 2. We're going to grab our next chunk of clay. Maybe I'll show this. We're going to grab our bat here. Line it up with those bat pins. Put a little dollop of water in there. Take off the clay in the middle. drag it out, make sure it's dry enough that our clay ball that's right here will be able to stick. Great. And here we're going to be going back to green mode for a little bit. From looking at this, I'm seeing that there's quite a lot of work to do here. And I could be going quite a bit faster. For some reason this bottom is coming off very easily. And I really don't know why. Perhaps a hidden air bubble that I introduced to the clay there. Taking my thumb, dragging that across there. Pushing that clay down to go up, right? You can see this rip that's happening in the center area here. And so that must be where the air pocket is. I'm not going to mess with it too much. I'll find it when I start my throwing, and we'll see what we can do there. I'm going to open up the clay. Maybe we'll go like this, and you'll see the interior of the pot here. We're opening that up, and you can see I'm really cutting the clay. I'm not smoothing it out. This next part is where we smooth it. Any undulation will get exaggerated through that, but the cutting prevents it from happening. Here we go, getting ready for the first claw grip hole, making sure we're going inward. And now, last, we have the volcano. And you can see the volcano here. And we'll start our first pull over here on the side, our knuckle coming underneath. I'll get this here, and so you can see the knuckle up the side of the pot. There's great pressure on the pot there. Again, my blue cord has migrated from the back of my head over my head in front of my face, and it is not very fun. Back around you go, collaring this top part up, compressing that rim, going back down to the bottom of the pot, saying, hey, what do you got in store for me down here? Okay. Push that clay down, curl that in, and then lift that up. And you can see my top hand here is beveling on that rim to keep it on center. And here we are. We have quite a magnificent background here today. I'm gonna wet this surface. And there we go. Slowly taking this up the pot like a flower ready to bud. Open its bud, I mean. Do flowers bud? Is that what it is? Or flowers flower? Opening its bud to flower. There we go. Ah, maybe there's some sheep in these mountains. I don't know. Back to the bottom of the pot. Get a little water on our wrist here. We're going to go down. We're really thin in that middle section, so we're just going to finish off the pole and not try to stretch out too much there, or else the last it will be too thin. I have a feeling that this top is going to rip on this pot, so we'll be ready for that. And I also think, since the top is a little bit, has some undulation on it, it's not going to fall down smoothly. It's going to be a little bit off-kiltered, and so we're going to be prepared for that. and we'll respond accordingly. We're going to the bottom of the pot here. We're taking this up slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's as much as we're going to go. We're going to start slowly taking this out here. And we're actually going to start following the curve. You see there? Really following the curve. It's going to exaggerate the longer we keep in here. And that's just what we want. Look at that. We've created something very weird, very wacky. It feels like it's about to tip over, but it's not. And if it does, we'll catch it. I'm taking my fingers on the bottom here, and I will be smoothing out this edge, keeping a close eye on the interior here. It does look like it wants to settle over. It is ripping. Oh, here it is. I'm going to lift this up, and we're going to twist it. Maybe, look at that. We'll allow it to fall, but it will catch on that rim that we sort of manifested here, right? And so now it has this, almost like this slit here, maybe like a boat or a banana. And that will set right on the inside spiral to keep it from falling anymore. Going up underneath of this. And so in that moment, you'll feel that it's calling you, right? You'll feel that these moments in ceramics are urging you to respond in a certain way. Usually, you don't want to allow the clay to move your hands, right? Because it will get more and more off-centered like you see. But sometimes it allows you to find new forms. And so always be open to the ideas the clay is presenting to you. Taking my pinky here, slowly opening up. You don't want to put too much pressure in. It's a little bit thin, and you can see it's going to dip down. That's okay. We're not going to cut on this one anyway. We're going to slowly bring these in here and make sure we're lifting up. Look at that. What an interesting little pot we have here. Some of the voice that I'm seeing in the skirt is also happening on the top nodule there. And if I can show you a better example. So you see these edges here? They're mimicking some of the moments on the pot itself there. And so we really like when we can start seeing some patterns in a pot, because it takes something from a little bit unorthodox, right, and changes it to something that has a little bit more voice, right? It's not babbling. It's a sentence, right? I think far too much of the work that you see today, right, at least in the ceramics world and perhaps in sculpture or art, but for sure in the ceramics world, you see a lot of pots are babbling, right? And we don't really want our pots to babble. We want them to express our opinions on the work that we're doing and perhaps the ideas that we're following, right? And if you're babbling, nobody's going to listen to you other than other babblers. And the babblers aren't going to go down in history as their ideas. They're going to go down in history as babblers. It's the people who create the ideas. They're going to be so influential that they're forgotten. And that's, I think, people who have the most powerful ideas are the ones who end up being forgotten. curling that. I'm using that back pinky here to cup underneath, and I'm scooping that up. Saying hello. How you doing today? Bring that down, pushing that. I'm going to bring this edge down and scoop that up again. And there you go. We're also ripping the clay a little bit too much today, so we don't want to be doing that. The top I'm getting a little bit rippy. We'll bring that back on center there. Push that down, curl that up. Take your fist, push that down the side of the pot there. Get ready, we're flying above the clouds now. We are, alas, on cloud 9, opening up the interior of the pot with our thumbs, going on the inside. And now you will see, we shall be opening up the clay, saying hello, clay. I'm here. And you will lose the battle, the mental tug-of-war of the potter wheel. There we go. Creating a little spinny spin. We're pretty thin on the bottom, but that's okay. Creating that there is always beneficial. Going down to the bottom here, getting our knuckle out, and make sure we're creating that little undulation to go inward, and we're slowly taking this all the way up the side of the pot. Careful to not go too much on that rim. We don't want to thin out the top almost any more than what we already have. And so I will be reducing my pressure every time I go up to that spot. Pushing this clay down, curling up underneath, and then reducing the pressure as we get to the top. And there we go. Taking our hands, collaring this up just a little bit to give it some more structural integrity, curling our finger over. There we go. Let's go back to the clouds. And here we are, back to the bottom of the pot. Pushing that down, again, starting there, pushing that outward. Really thin there. But we save that pot. What an interesting shape. And so that's why when you see those undulations happen in the pot, you can see that all through this middle section here. Don't freak out. Finish your pull. Keep that constant pressure, right? It's going to say some stuff to you, but you don't have to listen, right? It's going to be whispering fear and anxiousness, anxiety whenever you start to mess up, right? But it's just talking. Doesn't have to mean anything if you don't want it to, right? It's a video I saw of this kid throwing his teacher's briefcase, and the teacher says, that briefcase doesn't have any feelings. Can't hurt it. And I don't have any feelings you can hurt either, to a student who is acting out in class. And that student seemed to have some sort of profound realization when that happened. And so, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is be in control of how you feel. Right? It's not an easy thing, right? That's why so many people struggle with it. Well, let's just see what we got here. Just take this up, right? Kind of has a very tree-like feeling to it. And we'll keep it just like this. Soften that top rim. Make sure we're just following the undulations so we're not disturbing the form. We have a rip at the bottom here. Perhaps I'm a little bit too thin, but should be okay. Going underneath this edge, cutting over. I'll show you guys the inside too. Look at that, very pretty. A lot of interesting form variation. Back. And up underneath here. There's actually not too much I want to do. I think it's already pretty thin. So instead of pushing this in, I'm going to do just a quick compression of that edge there. Get my wire tool out and begin the cutting process. Wrap it around the fingers. Get ready for the cuts. And so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll do 9. The 9th one's a little bit thin, but I'm thinking for how simple this top is, I'm going to have a little bit more going out on the bottom. There's a lot of blank space, a lot of visual, think of it as like a visual couch for your viewer to look on this top area here. I have one fissure that's happening on the interior. A little bit thin, a little bit too much water perhaps. I'm going to curl these in, and we'll see what we got going on here. Look at that. A lot of variation on this bottom. And I think it's just enough to call this piece done. There we go. Got our pots today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Today is not a calm day. It's always a battle. Although there's clouds, clouds can become storms. Storms can become a peaceful summer day, right? But right now we are in the midst of winter. A lot of cold, a lot of, let's get this back on, a lot of cold, a lot of comfort being whispered to us. It's cold, stay in bed. Oh, the roads are not good. You shouldn't go where you wanted to go today, right? And we can't listen to those things. You can't let that dictate your whole life. I'm in the belief that if you listen to that your whole life, you'll end up regretting it. And if not, that's also okay. And hopefully you don't regret it and you'll be able to live a happy life. But me, I know I'll regret it. And so I'm preparing for it. I'm not going to let it defeat me. Hey, get back over here. There we go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. All the best. Show mentality. Peace. Oh, what's this over here? Is that a bird?